9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Are you ready?
The CJ Howard Show. Now let's go to CJ Howard. A snowy, cold good evening to everyone, and welcome, and a happy new year to all, as we welcome you to the first show of 2025, the CJ Howard Sports Talk Show. I'm CJ Howard with you live from a snowy Hazard, Kentucky. Much like my cohort on the other side, he's in a snowy, icy Lexington, Kentucky. So we'll get to him in just a second. Glad you could be with us. You can watch us live on Facebook. Watch us live on the D&D Sports Network. Watch us live on the on my sports page. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Guys, got any comments or questions you want to leave us? Please do so in the comments box below. Also, if you want to give me a call, phone number for the show is 1-502-849-9320. I can talk to you. Brian cannot hear you, but if you have a question for Brian, I can relay it back to him. We have a great guest list tonight, and this is one of my favorite shows of the year because usually when I get Brian on, I'm going to have our 9 o'clock guest with him. And these two always bring chaos and happiness to everybody. And with today we've been having, the weather-wise, it's good to have some laughter and some stuff like this. Let's go over our guest list. Here in about 10 minutes, we're going to be joined by Nate Valentine, the head basketball coach of the Laurel Jaguars. Then at 8:30, we'll be joined by John Huang. John, you know him very well. He has a very big book out right now. You guys we'll talk about the book. We're going to talk about the Bengals. He's going to tell us about what UK's been into and everything else. Then we're going to be joined at 9 o'clock by Jeff Davis, the head basketball coach of the South Laurel Cardinals. And probably not the overwhelming favorite of the 13. There's about 4 teams over there that can play, but I think South Laurel is one of the better teams over there. They really proved it during the Christmas break, playing great competition and really playing well. And then Armando will join us at 9:30. So we got it's a classic show. Joining me, my co-host tonight, the main man. You got to see him a couple weeks ago. He was at the Mountain Classic. He got to do the Mountain Classic. It felt like old times. He works at WKYT. He's all over the place. He's the man of many traits and master of every one of them, Mr. Brian Milan. Brian, it's great to have you on the show again.
Thank you, but you have really oversold the product here. There's a thing in sales where you under promise and oversell, and you've just oversold the point to I don't know if we can match this or not. But I tell you what, you have 2 of my favorite people in Laurel County on the show tonight. Not my favorite coaches, my favorite people. The one great thing, and I will say this now, I speak to them not as often as I once did, especially when Nate was in Lexington at LCA. But we text ever so often. I saw him at the White Greer and Maggard tournament at Lexington Catholic briefly. He goes, "Well, hey, Milan." Hey, that's not all the time we had. But they are 2 of my favorite people. And then you mentioned Armando a little bit later on. Folks, for those who don't remember for those who do remember WYMT from back in the day, Armando would have fit in like a round peg in a round hole. He is a throwback in a lot of ways, with a new school mentality and understanding about stuff. But he would have fit in perfect in the mid-90s, the mid-2000s, the late 80s, had he been around. But he's such a puppy. I mean, he's not that old. I don't even know if he shaves yet, but he would have fit in great.
I say he shaves, but I mean,
once a year just to show off.
We may have to ask him that question later. That's a good one. I like that one. We've said this before, Brian. We've talked about how a lot of YMT's done a lot of great sports reporters and people, sports people come through there, and if you start naming them all, you're going to forget somebody that's really. But we always go back to the two people that started Sports Overtime, which was Keith Casebolt and you have to help me on. I don't know I don't know the gentleman's first. I know that. Yeah, Jay Crawford. They started Sports Overtime, and then everybody that's come through from then to now has continued to keep it up. And we've been here. The news has not been the best with YMT. We hope it gets better and better. We hope it's going to get better. We hope they maybe get back to a little bit of the same what they used to be. Sure. We're praying for that. But we go. I look back at the future and I see, and I'm so grateful for the people that I entered my life that I've gotten a chance to meet.
No doubt. That
I still call friends because we never got a chance to meet those people behind the scenes any other time.
Yeah, this whole world, and not just TV, but sports can do it better than just about anything. Sports can bring people together in relationships, and that's all it is. That's all life really is about. No matter what you're talking about, it deals with relationships, good or bad. And what YMT was able to do when they hit the air in October of '85 was bridge Williamsburg to Pikeville, was able to bridge Campton in Wolfe County to Jenkins and Letcher County. It was a way to do all of that. Then when you put together a sports show like Sports Overtime, then you did not just hear about what did the Whitesburg Yellow Jackets, what do they've got this year? I have no idea. I've never really even seen them. Well, what about Middlesboro? What has Middlesboro got? Well, now you got to see the people everybody had been talking about. And then when you take into the effect of, then you had a 40-minute Sports Overtime show, which began in '87 or '88. And then it still moves on today. Now, it's not 40 minutes the way it used to be. It's been about 15 minutes for the last decade or so.
Yeah.
But when you get to say, hey, who is Laurel County? Who is Chris Berry of Laurel County? I have no idea. Who is Sean Pennington of Clay County? Wow, that's what he looks like. And I really believe this. I really believe Tim Couch, he would have had a lot of praise, mind you. Had YMT not been around when Tim Couch was around,
they would know who Tim was.
He gets a lot of publicity, but he doesn't get as much regionally because what did YMT do? YMT would send video to Lexington. Then Lexington blankets 2/3 of the state. And then you get to see some things. Tim Couch would have been a number one pick, period, in the NFL. He would have been to UK and all that, but he would not have had the local content nearly as much. And I think it would have taken a little longer for maybe people to have known him. The same thing with J.R. Van Hoos and Richie Farmer and guys, on down the line.
Look at Reed Shepherd and the last couple of years we've been covering them guys. That's been I mean, without YT, these people would have never been known. We would have never known Richie Farmer. We would have never known what Clay County was about in basketball had we never known about YMT having Sports Overtime and the Mountain Classic and stuff like this. This is what brings everybody together. Jeff Archer mentioned this when he was hosting with me, that the thing that you would go to these games and they would have signs up and say, sure, WYMT Sports Overtime, or Brown Bottom's the man, or Jeff Archer's this, that made you guys feel good. But then I've had others tell me that they go other places and they go, "Oh, you work at YMT. Hey, I know you. You guys do great work." They're known throughout the land, not just in Eastern Kentucky. They're known throughout the state. Yeah.
And the product that we used to put on YMT, when it had a 40-minute show, you had a full sports department. Armando does not have that anymore due to the cutbacks. But when you had all of this stuff, people watched YMT because also it was when I was there, the internet had taken off in the last half of my tenure, but streaming your show was not even thought about. In 2007, 8, 9, 10. The 13thregion.com network what are we doing? Nobody streamed anything. And then when streaming came along, well, everybody gets to see a variety of things. But back then at YMT, we were the only show in town. So we got Corbin ready to go. People at Lynn Camp and Corbin and Whitley County and Williamsburg and Laurel County, the Tri-County area, they got excited about stuff. I got to put that guy on TV. The state tournament.
Well, we like this guy on TV because when we see him on TV, we know something good is happening on the North Laurel side. So we know something good is happening over there.
But it's just it bridges eras. YMT has done that, and Nate joins us on the show. And I will say this to you: 2 times ago, when I was in Hazard, I'm going through a box of videotapes. Some of them are not labeled. I have no idea what's on them. And guess who's on there doing an interview? That guy. And I'm the one doing the interview. I thought, oh my God. I'm going to put this interview off in the side that no one's going to see for a long time.
Well, you'll need to. I love it when you post memories like that. You'll have to post that one day where we might get a chance to see it on YouTube.
Price, I might do that.
Yeah, we'd like to see that. Well, joining us now is the head basketball coach of the North Laurel Jaguars, Mr. Nate Valentine. Coach, it's good to have you with us. Always great to have you with us. And how are things in Laurel County? Are you under a lot of the same weather everybody else is?
Yeah, it's not too bad here. We've had a little bit of snow, but it's starting to warm up, and they've done a good job on the roads here. So it's not too bad. Hopefully, we can get in and get back to practice tomorrow.
Yeah, they still are telling people not to be on the road unless you really have to. Mostly, all the schools have canceled for tomorrow. I know churches were canceling left and right today due to they didn't want to get people out and get them hurt. So hopefully that you will get back in the gym tomorrow. If not, you'll hopefully get back in there Tuesday because I don't think you play again until – actually, you play Tuesday night, don't you, Coach? You play Corbin.
We do.
So
We're supposed to play Corbin on Tuesday, so hopefully we'll be able to get that in.
Yeah, that'd be a big game for you because you had a big one the other night against Clay County, a really entertaining game. You guys played with the Tigers down there in district play and come up a little short, but your team played hard, played well, and you're improving. Coach, you got a nice team. You know, last year a lot of people said you were a young team. You didn't have a lot of varsity experience, especially with Reed left. You had some kids. You had a couple kids that kept you together. Now this team, they're coming together now and they're starting to play some good basketball. And they've been playing good all year. You have played tremendous competition, and that I always know for you. I know you do that, but these kids are getting better every night they get on the floor.
Yeah, we got off to a really good start. Like you said, we played an extremely challenging schedule and got off to a really good start with wins over J-Town and Henry Clay and Lexington Catholic, and beat some really good teams. And the last 3 we've kind of been snake bit a little bit. We've had the lead, been up 3 with inside 20 seconds the last 3 games and lost. So, but again, playing really, really good competition, and I would much rather do that. I assure you I'd rather come out with wins, but I would much rather be able to learn some things playing really good teams. And we've had to play against a lot of different styles here in the first 11 games or 13 games. And, hopefully that'll better prepare us as we keep moving forward. But, I told our guys the other night, like, we've got a really, really good basketball team, even though we've lost the last 3 games and 2 overtime games. And, we've had 3 games in a row where they banged a 3 in at the end. So, but I still have a lot of belief in my guys. And, I think we're a very good basketball team. And we're just going to keep fighting through it. And hopefully we'll learn and figure out how to close those games out sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, I've been keeping up with you with highlights and other streaming ways. And I saw you actually play one game down in Gatlinburg because we were down there. Perry Sheckler was down there playing, and I got to watch you play one game. I love your team because they play hard, but I think the thing that you've done really well is that when you've had the type of player as Reed, it takes 2 or 3 years for a team to really bounce back to the way they need to be. This team has bounced back a lot quicker than I anticipated. And I think that has to happen with good coaching, plus a couple of your veteran kids that keep the younger ones in check.
Yeah, 100%. Not only did we lose Reed, we lost nine guys from off that team. We lost 97% of our scoring, and it's just very hard to replace when that happens. And we did not cut back on the schedule at all last year either. We started 0-6 last year, and I think played our first 6 games against teams in the top 20. So that's one thing that I'll never do is chase wins. Maybe as I get to the end of the career and trying to get in a Hall of Fame like Brian Milan is. As of right now, I just want to keep putting our guys in a position where hopefully they're going to play against really good competition. And we've got a lot of guys that want to move on, play in college, and do different things. And I think that in order to do that, you've got to put those guys on the biggest stage as many times as you can. And sometimes it's going to hurt your record because of it, but I'm okay with that, and just hope we can continue to grow and hopefully get back, make a good run in the postseason. We still only have one senior. Cole Jervis has done a tremendous job, and he's been kind of that guy that has bridged the gap for us in between, the so-called Reed years there, and he was kind of the only guy with experience coming back. So we feel like we've got a lot of horses in the stable for the next several years to come.
You mentioned 97% of production lost, and I know one guy can get a lot of the publicity, but when you and I loved Ryan Davidson. I thought he was the glue guy because he did the dirty work. He did a little bit of everything. Well, you've got another Davidson that when I saw you guys a couple of weeks ago in Lexington, I didn't mean for it to be, but it turned out that he was all of the highlights because I had to leave to go to your old stomping grounds for another tournament. And I thought, my God, this guy's doing it. He scored in transition. He scored on a jumper. He scored on a wraparound layup. He scored like 6 different ways. And I thought, my gosh. And you mentioned you only have one senior. That's a good guy to build around for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think Reese is on an upward trend. He's probably grown more in the last 8 months probably than any player that I've ever had since I've been coaching. I mean, it's really clicked with him mentally, but he's a tremendous player. I think he's the best player in his class and will be a contender for Mr. Basketball next year and deservingly so. But he just works at it. He keeps working at it, and he's been patient. He's had a lot of injury, and he's overcome it, and he's had a lot of adversity, and just keeps grinding through it, and he's reaping some of the rewards of that now. But just a terrific kid, and obviously has his brother Ryan has a tremendous resource that he can lean on, and Ryan's having a great career right now at University of Cumberland's, and not surprised at all just the work those guys put in as a family. They've got a younger brother, Ryder, that's an 8th grader that is going to be a tremendous player. So we're happy to have the Davidsons in the North Laurel basketball program.
I think anybody would love to have the Davidsons in your program. They've been unbelievable. Brian hit on a good point there. You got one senior. How many juniors you got?
We have 2 juniors. Or 3 juniors. I'm sorry, 3 juniors. Yeah.
You only got 4 upperclassmen, and the rest of everybody else are sophomore, freshman, 8th graders.
Yep.
And it seems like that you guys just keep plugging along. That has to make you feel good, Coach, because sometimes I said it just a second ago. Some things fall apart. They just they don't understand what it takes to stay consistent. You guys have stayed consistent, but you haven't changed anything. You haven't made anything difficult for these kids. You stayed with the script, and the script's been the same, and they've done it well. Talk about that a little bit because I know that's important.
Yeah, I think I was able to play for one of the best high school coaches in Kentucky history, in Steve Wright at South Laurel, and that was kind of his mantra. You were just going to work, and everything else was going to work out, and you were going to work, and there was no excuses, and there was no other option. You were going to play hard, and you were going to work your tail off, and that was the only option. And you were going to play really good teams, and he was going to tell you how it was, and he was going to keep it real with you at all times. And there was no other option. So I think I've probably tried to keep it the same way there, and same as playing and coaching with Brian Lane. I mean, I told him he's played like 4 top 20 teams, and he's driven like 800 miles. And I said, you drove past a lot of places that you could get your tail kicked, between there and, Wabash, Indiana, and some places like that. But, I think just the guys that I've kind of come up under, they've always done it that way. And, I trust those guys and think that's the way to do it.
I want to give one quick story. You mentioned Brian Lane, and there are two things that I love about Transy basketball from several years ago, and Nate will understand what I'm talking about. I got to do the Brian Lane show from 2011 to about 2016, 17, somewhere in there. And Nate was an assistant. And Nate got to do one of the basketball teaching moments. Hi, I'm Nate Valentine, assistant coach, Transylvania. We're going to talk about the low post play. And I'm thinking, what do you know about low post play? But he would talk about this crab dribble. And every time I see a guy do it, I swear to you, Nate, I think of you and I start laughing a little bit. The crab dribbles when a guy's just one-on-one, kind of bouncing, moving back. And another thing, and I want to tell this story because I have on my phone and on the computer, some of the great things I have heard over the decades. Just one-liners that make me laugh. Nate Valentine is in the top 10.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. As an assistant, Transy is playing, and I don't remember who. He will remember, I'm sure, if he had time to think about it. Transy is up 13 with 2 minutes to go in the first half. The other team goes on a 13-0 run in 2 minutes to tie the game at the half. And Brian Lane and Nate and all the other assistants would get into the medical room and talk before going to talk to the kids. Nate was so mad. He said, my God, we're playing so bad. It's like we're shaving points. We're playing. And I'm thinking, if you are shaving points at the D3 level, you are a degenerate gambler.
It couldn't have been coaching. It could not have been coaching.
Oh, no, that was so bad. Even Nick Fudge, I think he was the point guard at that time, and he even said, God, that was the worst 2 minutes I've ever seen. And I laughed. I had to leave the room, and I usually stood in that room just to listen to what they were talking about so I would have a better education. I had to leave the room because I laughed so hard. But if you're shaving points at the D3 level.
Must have been bad, huh? Must have been bad.
That moment.
I don't remember it, but.
Oh, it was great. It was absolutely perfect.
Only Brian Milan would come up with this stuff that he would remember.
I'm just glad I'm in his top 10 in something.
I bet you Jeff Davis is in his top 5 somewhere.
Bottom 5. I'll tell him that to his face. Swear to
God. Coach, I'm looking at your schedule, and you've done played one half of the next 3 games. That's pretty solid. You play Clay. You got Corbin at home tomorrow night. Then you turn around and you play your rival South on Thursday night. How hard is it to prepare for 2 teams that are that good in Corbin and South when you only got 1 day? And that's sort of like a regional thing too, because if you're in the regional tournament, you're going to play competition level like this anyway. So that's going to prepare you. Do you do that for a reason so you can prepare your kids for later?
A lot of times it's just how it works out. It's how the schedule works out. And, we'll focus on Corbin on Tuesday. That's been our focus since the Clay County game ended, and then we'll deal with what's next. And, we don't change a ton. We can adjust on the fly. I've got really, really smart guys that can do a lot of stuff and play in a lot of different ways. And, we can run stuff that we haven't ran all year. You can draw it up in a timeout and they can go do it. So we're just going to focus on Corbin. That's the most important game of the year right now for us, and just getting back on track, hopefully, and, playing well. We get to come back home and have a home game, which we haven't had in probably a month. So just trying to get the train back on the tracks. And, that's kind of the fear of playing the schedule that we always play. And a lot of times I tell the parents at the beginning of the year, like, look, this thing could get rocky. It could really get rocky. Anytime you go to, tournaments like the Lexington Catholic tournament, you can be a really, really good team and come out of there 1-2. We're 2-2. And same with like we did with Reed at the City of Palms and some of that. Like, you saw Great Crossing. You come out of there with 1 win, you've had a great tournament. So, you kind of got to be wary of that, of not overkill and trying to keep the temperature, at a steady temp the whole year, but hopefully we'll get back on track, and I think we will. I think we'll play well, and our guys will bounce back.
You mentioned Great Crossing, and you go to those tournaments and you can get humbled in a hurry, and they lost 90-39. I mean, how good is Christopher Columbus? I know he's discovered America.
Yeah. Well, when you have the two best players in the country, the Bluger Twins, they're going to be pretty good. But a lot of us aren't playing by the same rules either.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that.
Is there a point in the season though you look at and say, okay, we're going to know who we are at this point? Because you lost 3 in a row, but like 4, and they all been single digits and 1 in overtime. And
2 in overtime. Yeah. I've always said I don't know why it's worked out this way, but I think you kind of know. I don't really feel like you get a good barometer until Valentine's Day. Until that second week of February, going into the tournament, you kind of get a feel for. All right, this is who we are, and it's such a long year, and you can look at a lot of scores and say, well, this team beat that team, but if you're looking at a consolation game, a lot of times you can throw those out. A lot of times, you get guys hurt or injured, and you never know. So, but usually by, going into the tournament, you get a real good feel of, okay, everybody's got everybody they're going to have now. And, everybody's figured the rotations out and who they're going to play. And I think it just takes time in high school. In college, you go get the guys that you want to go get in each position. And, that's kind of who you are. But I think in high school, it just takes a really long time. There's 6 months, 4 months is a lot of time for a 16, 17-year-old kid. I mean, they can grow, they can mature, a lot can happen. So, we're just gonna keep plugging along, keep fighting, and we're gonna do what we can to get back in that region final. That's kind of the goal.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Does it concern you that you've got Ryan or Reese dominating the stat sheet so much?
A little, and I think it's one of those things that we look at and we're like, okay, how are we going to have some balance? I think Clay County did, they were the first one to really, really try to take him away and face guarded him all night, and probably knocked us off balance a little bit early, but just really challenged our other guys with like, all right, whoever the team of the moment is, you got to be ready to go. If they're not going to guard 3 guys, like, you got to be ready to come in and make shots for us and take that personal and say, okay, that's fine, we'll make you pay. But we have an extremely unselfish group, and we're going to do whatever we have to do. Jordan Rollins was the other guy that they, teams really focus in on him and try to take him away. But, our guys have done a great job of not forcing things. They're all willing passers, and share the ball, and everybody plays their role and does what they have to do. This has been one of the more enjoyable teams that I've had in a long time, in terms of no real distractions. They just show up and work, and the result is a result. We move on to the next one, and there's not a lot of blame game and not a lot of distractions. So as long as we can stay there, I think we have a really, really good shot at the end.
Yeah, well, I know one thing. The 13th Region Boys is loaded. I mean, it's going to be one of the best tournaments you're going to see for the entire season. I know there's 8, 9 teams out there that Dale, Pineville, you guys, South Corbin, Harlan County, it's loaded. And there's not an easy game in the whole bracket. And that's what makes the 13th Region, especially this year, so challenging. Because it ain't no matter what you do in the district, you can be a runner-up or a winner, you're still going to play a team that, if they've got a big runner-up, they probably a champion too. So, I mean, that's something you can't avoid, but that's something that you guys thrive on. And that's why I respect from you, Coach. And that's why I know you play the same schedule every year. Tough, make the kids better, and then you're ready to go by the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's almost like, being back at LCA when you were in the 43rd district. I remember we beat Lexington Catholic. I think there were 5 of us in the top 20 going into the district tournament. We beat Lexington Catholic at the buzzer to be the district champion. And I remember walking in the locker room before we were going to celebrate there, and somebody said Madison Southern just beat Madison Central. And Madison Central was number 2 in the state that year. And the first thing that went through my mind was, we're going to draw Madison Central the first game. And sure enough, we did. And, that was our first ever trip to the regional tournament in school history in 27 years. And Allen Jr. made me look like a fourth grader. 2-3 zoned us. He hadn't played a possession, a 2-3 zone all year, and came out 2-3 zoned us. I think beat us 46-44 in my first debut in the 11th region tournament. But yeah, it's very similar. There's not really anybody where you're just going to be able to show up and play and win. So there's going to be 8 good teams in there, and we got to take care of business in our district and do what we got to do, and then go in there and win 3 games.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, Coach, Brian, you want to ask the Nate anything else before we let him go?
Yeah, it was 45-44, but
45-44. There you go.
I did, Brian. Out of
the last thing, and you CJ, you mentioned it. The 13th region is kind of always packed together. One thing that I took away from Alan Hatcher when he was at Perry Central and Graves County and Marshall County, he played March basketball in November, December, because we see low-scoring games. We see high-scoring games during the tournaments and maybe the pre-district or the pre-district tournaments. But he would play that stall ball, that the games are played at 45-44. You guys played Scott County, I think 46-44. It was those type of things.
You had to bring that one up again, didn't you?
The three from the baseline almost was there. Yeah, sorry. Don't say anything to Coach Sizemore. He remembers a 3 from the baseline that didn't go in either on the 52-49 loss. But I digress. Is there a point in the season as you get closer to postseason where you're like, look, there's going to be some grinders here? And yet the lessons you learn in December may be forgotten by late February by the kids. You won't forget them, but the kids might. Do you go through how often in practice leading up to postseason and say, look, we're going to play so-and-so, and they're going to hold it for a minute. We got to be able to do something here.
Yeah, I mean, we start working on that the first week of the season. I mean, what are we going to do? And you don't really do it. We don't do it in terms of we're going to play this team. We do it more of, hey, we're down 4 right here, and the other team has the ball. We're going to have to figure out how to win. Is this going to work? And you try it, and it doesn't work, and then you try something else. But I guess it never really works until you get in the tournament. And I would be the biggest advocate for a shot clock in high school basketball that there is, so that doesn't happen. But it's part of it, especially when we had, Reed and Ryan and those guys. We came out in the regional tournament and teams try to hold the ball, up to 2 minutes sometimes. So, it's a cat and mouse game. You got to get off to a good start and hopefully get the lead. But, we'll be prepared for everything by the end and start working on that stuff early in the season. And you're right. You get on that big floor down at the arena and you never know what people are going to do. So you can't get caught with your pants down. You got to be ready to go. So,
yeah. Well, Coach, good luck to you the rest of the year. I'll be keeping an eye on you. Love watching your team. You're taking care of Coach Sizemore, right? He's still sitting beside you.
Coach Sizemore's a dandy. He keeps me out of trouble as much as he can. So, I got after the referees a couple of weeks ago, and I came home and my daughter said, "How come Tim didn't come out there and get you?" So I told him that. I said, Kate wanted to know where you were the other night when I was yelling at the referees. You're supposed to keep me out of trouble. So, but he does a tremendous job, and obviously had a great career there at Leslie County.
He did.
Basketball family, and his son Clay is one of my favorites. That has ever played for me, and Adam's coaching at South Alabama now, and it's fun to follow those guys. And Clay's still playing at center, so then he's got another one that's about like my adopted son now too. Todd, he does our stats for us still. Great family though, and thankful that he's been a part of it and stuck with me.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, Coach. People don't understand this. And loyalty for assistant coaches to hang with a veteran head coach is very important, because if you've got the same staff, the kids are going to really be ready. So I applaud you on that.
Especially after their kids graduate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're right. And when I bought these readers a few weeks ago, and I thought, these are my Tim Sizemore readers.
Coach, you tell Tim I asked about him, and hopefully you get an opportunity maybe to watch you play for the year. If not, I will try to come down to the 13th region tournament and check it out. But Coach, good luck to you and your team. We wish you nothing but the best of luck, and we will talk to you very soon.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. And Brian, congrats on the all joking aside, congrats on the Mountain Hall of Fame there at the Mountain Classic. That was awesome. I watched your tribute, and it was heartfelt. Know that it was as genuine as it could be, and know your love for mountains and mountain basketball. So just know that I've always appreciated you and everything that you've always done for high school basketball. So congratulations.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Coach, good luck to you and your team. We will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
God bless you. Coach Nate Valentine with the North Laurel Jaguars as he gets set to get ready to play Corbin. He hopes, weather permitting. Now joining us is another good gentleman, John Huang, the UK. He does a lot of work for UK, covers the Bengals. He does everything. He's another jack of the all trades around. Got a tremendous book out right now. I've been plugging it ever since he was on the last show. Name, Image, and Murder, on the Court of No Return. You can get that at Amazon right now. That's a plug for the book. We'll have many plugs for the book as we progress on. But, John, it is great to have you back.
Well, it's wonderful to be here. Happy New Year, CJ. Happy New Year, Brian. It's always great to be able to start out the new year talking about sports, especially University of Kentucky sports, in which the atmosphere around the rejuvenation of the program with the greatest tradition in the history of college basketball is sky high here in the Bluegrass. The Bengals, on the other hand, it's a little bit of a mourning day today. You know, they're officially out.
Yeah, that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with the Bengals, and we'll get to UK. They done their part last night, and I knew I pretty much thought they would win. They've been playing some good ball, but I knew when the Chiefs were resting starters that they wouldn't get into the playoffs. But the Jets did do their job. They beat the Dolphins, and but when you saw that score just keep piling, he's like, it's officially over. But I mean, listen, I have to give the Bengals. I can give them some credit, and I'll give them some not credit. It was their fault they didn't get in because they messed around, lost some games they shouldn't have lost in the middle of the year. I'm not concerned with their losses start of the season. They gave away 2 or 3 games. They lost to the Chargers, should have beat them. They lost to the Ravens twice, should have beat the Ravens both games. So they had their chances. They didn't get it done. Now they need to focus on the one thing they've got to do now. They've got to find some way to sign both Higgins and the other wide receiver, or at least one of them. Because if they don't, then Burrow, it's going to be. They're going to be. I mean, it might be rough sledding for the Bengals.
Yeah, they might want to shore up their defense a little bit. They need to go get a couple of corners. When you score over 33 points in 4 of their games and you still end up losing, then you know that it's that side of the ball that maybe needs a little bit of help. But you are absolutely right. They've got nobody to blame but themselves. That game up in Pittsburgh was an exciting one. Brian, this may interest you. I was actually thinking of trying to do a doubleheader on Saturday. I was going to try to go to the Kentucky-Florida game and then make the drive up to Pittsburgh. But common sense prevailed. The weather report also prevailed. I had a couple of other colleagues say, you are absolutely nuts. There's no way you're going to end up making it. It's only going to take one little accident up there on the Interstate 70 and you're going to be shot. Don't do it. So I don't know, man. It would have been exciting. But now the fact that they didn't make it in the playoffs, it would have all been for naught anyway. Have you ever been up to Pittsburgh?
I have not, but when someone says there's no way, there's always a way. I have learned that. We have learned that throughout life. Try me. Let's find a way. You
only live once, right? You only live once. You never know when these opportunities may come up again. But I will tell you what, last night as I was laying on my couch watching the game in the comfort and convenience of my home, bathroom nearby, refrigerator right down a few steps away, I didn't have too many regrets.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh, if there is a city where the teams resemble the community, I think it's Pittsburgh. That the color scheme for the Penguins, for the Steelers, for the Pirates, it's all black and gold, so they don't have to change colors. They all understand it's the Rust Belt. It's a blue collar. It may be one of the few. Well, it is one of the few major cities in America that's blue collar through and through. And they love the Steelers and they love the Pirates and the Penguins and everything else. But I need to make a pilgrimage to Pittsburgh just to sit in the top seat, the top row at PNC Park and just look out and see the entire city. That would be a good day for me. Yeah,
it really almost seems like a good college type atmosphere where people are out there, they're tailgating, they're into it. It doesn't matter what the weather is. I think probably the only other stadium that I've been to in the NFL that might rival that is Kansas City. Those Chiefs fans are pretty crazy too about their team.
There's something special about mid-major markets, if you will, the Midwest, Kansas City, certainly the way they treat. If you've never been to the Power and Light District, you need to go and you may spend a year there one weekend, but it would be worth it. And Pittsburgh and Kansas City, they certainly love their football, and they go back decades. So
now the matchups are set. I don't know. Baltimore is very happy with their matchup because now they got to play the Steelers. And I know the Steelers have coming off three last 4 losses, but anytime the Steelers and the Ravens get together, that's a big matchup. So that's not a good matchup for the Ravens.
Yeah. Now, do you have a rooting interest? Do you have a dog in this fight, CJ?
The only team that I want to see win it, and I want to see Detroit. I would love to see Detroit win the Super Bowl. They're the only team. Anybody else that wins it, I don't not really care, because if the Chiefs win it, they're doing it for history for 3 in a row. No team's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. I wouldn't mind to see Buffalo, either Detroit or Buffalo, to win the Super Bowl.
What about the Vikings? Come on,
no,
kid.
Not the Vikings. Not the
Alan
Vikings.
Page, Jim Marshall, Fran Tarkenton.
Well, they have a great history, but I'm saying,
Foreman. Come on, big guy.
How could you not get behind
purple people eaters?
See, John just got street cred even higher right now. So
John's jumping up there. He's going big. But you know what? There's some good. You know, we're waiting on the end of the night for the Detroit Minnesota game to come. But all the matchups are set. We got some pretty decent matchups next week. We could, if Baltimore wins and the Chargers can find some way to win on the road next week, we might get brother versus brother in a rematch in week 2. That would be a good. I'd like to see that again.
Yeah, it's nice to always be able to watch those now with no real rooting interest anymore. Mm-hmm. But I think everybody can agree they're probably all glad to see Cincinnati out of it, because 5 in a row, Joe Burrow. That's not a team that you want to meet during the playoffs, especially when they're on a roll like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like we said, the offseason needs to be signing some defensive players and try to get back to 2 big wide receivers. So, and then they're going to get a decent draft pick too. I mean, they're going to be in the top 10. I didn't see the final list. I know Tennessee gets the number 1 pick.
They may need a quarterback.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'm still listen. I like Levis. Levis needs a new place. He needs to move on to another place. But the one thing that bothered me today, and then we'll move on to UK, Gerard Mayo got done so bad today. I mean, that's awful. You only get 1 year. I mean, come on.
Hey, welcome to the real world, big guy.
I know. I understand what the pro game, basketball, football. I don't understand it all, but
I don't. I mean, that's why I love Mitch Barnhart. That's why I love Mitch Barnhart. The man is a pillar of patience.
Yes, very.
And allows coaches to do what they do. I know it's not professional football, but with NIL or name, image, and murder, it is professional football.
Well, the Browns are also pretty patient in management in terms of giving their coaches probably a little bit more of a leash than some of the fans are willing to.
Because I know tomorrow we're probably going to have about 5 or 6 coaches get fired. But I mean, to see Gerard Mayo be one of them, that's not. I mean, I didn't like that, but it's just like Brian said, it's a pro game, and this is how it is.
Yeah, they know what they're getting into. Coaches are hired to be fired. It's like The Godfather. This is the profession we have chosen. They know full well.
All right, let's get to UK. Great win yesterday. Great win. Got to get the defense shored up. But now, I heard something on the SEC Network now last night when I was watching the highlights of all the games. They were real high on Kentucky, but the one thing they don't think Kentucky can do very well is play one-on-one because they shoot the ball so well. Teams have not forced Kentucky to have to play a one-on-one. And they were talking about they don't know if Kentucky's got good enough guards to do that. What do you think, John? Do you think Kentucky can? I know they shoot the ball well, but could they be? If somebody put them in a clamped zone defense and they wouldn't hitting shots, can they beat people one-on-one?
I don't think so. I think a lot of the success of this team is going to be based on their ability to hit three-pointers. There are going to be games in which they're going to blow people out, and there are probably going to be a few games in which they're going to be blown out because those shots aren't falling. When you think about who are the guys who can take people off the dribble, I think probably Otega-Oweh is really the only one in my book that you can really, really count on. I don't know, Jackson. He's been very, very inconsistent through time. The bigs, they've got a few moves in there. Mark Pope had specifically said that he wanted his bigs to be the playmakers. He wanted the 4s and 5s to be the ones who would be able to kind of get that offense rolling. And they showed that yesterday, not only in scoring, but the bigs actually led the team in assists. I think the three of them, Garrison and Carr and Williams, they had I believe it was 13 assists. The rest of the team maybe had 12. So they actually led the team in assists. But yeah, in answer to your question, I don't know. Mark Story, he actually had a very, very interesting article in the Herald Leader where he talked about how the perceived weakness of this team, where there was no go-to guy, nobody who could.
You got muted, John.
How do you get muted? I didn't touch you.
That may be turning into a real where everybody, all five guys can beat you. It may not be off the dribble, but they'll be able to find a way to beat you.
Well, let me say something about the go-to guy. Okay, we don't have a go-to guy. They don't have a go-to guy. Well, whatever happens when the go-to guy gets shut down? Okay, so now you have four other players.
We've been there, done that many times during the Cal era.
And that's why I'm not a fan of – that's why I'm a fan of this team compared to not UK teams, but other teams that have a go-to guy. Because if the go-to guy – if you always rely on one thing and then you take away the one thing, what do you have? You don't know. I go back to 2015, Karl Anthony Towns. The 38-0 team. In the last 5 minutes of the game, John Calipari had one. He went to the closer. He went to Mariano Rivera all the time. And then Wisconsin took away Mariano Rivera. They took away Karl Anthony Towns in this case. You had 2 shot clock violations. You had discombobulated offense. You did not know. They didn't know what to do because that was the go-to. I love the fact that Kentucky has 7 guys that can put the ball in the hole, either inside, outside, mid-range, whatever. I love this team as much as I did that team a decade ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at a team like Tennessee last year or Tennessee every year where when it comes to making the Final Four, they somehow fall short. And with Connect last year, I mean, he was about as go-to guy as you could get. And he carried them on many, many occasions. But what happened? They ended up losing. It really is a team game. I'd probably rather count certainly on Mark Pope and his ability to design a good inbounds play than all the 5 stars that Cal could have ever brought in here to be the go-to man.
Let me say one thing to that, John. Yesterday at that game, I got, for me being the son of a coach, and I'm too analytical for my own good. The older we get, the more analytical we get. But I saw Mark Pope do something on camera, and I've watched it several times, and it's one of my favorite clips I have ever shot on camera in 26 years. He is saying to the UK is inbounding the ball on the videographer side of the court, so the far side from the UK court, the UK bench. and he says, hey, we're going to do 1-4, this. And then he sees that he looks, and he sees Florida sub 2 guys. And you can see the Florida guys in my video come in. He goes, nope, wait. We're going to do this and this and this. And I promise you, from that point on, UK scored on 3 consecutive possessions because he decided to flip the script. We don't see that script being flipped over the last several years.
And how many times are we going to be able to see Pope be the chess master where he's thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead? He said something in the press conference yesterday that kind of caught my eye too. He was talking about Andrew Carr and how not only is he money down the stretch and key toward the ends of the game, but even during the games, even when he's not super effective, he presents a challenge to the other team that forces the other team to sometimes play lineups that aren't as conducive to what they want to do. So it's almost like he's not just counter punching, but counter punching with his lineups.
That's a Rhodes Scholar for you.
Yeah, exactly.
The impressive thing yesterday too, we had 6 players in double figures. I mean, I could have almost had 7, depending. He played 9 people yesterday, and I was, I think the more and more they play, I was amazed by this too. Let's say the Kentucky thing. This is overall in the conference. I didn't realize there was this many teams that had winning records. There's only like 2 teams in the whole conference that don't have at least double-digit wins. If I'm correct on that.
Everybody in the conference has double-digit wins. South Carolina was the worst coming into the weekend at 10-3.
Yeah,
but UK, and I put this on TV the other day. UK's first 5 opponents in the pre-conference. I mean, it was off the charts. It was like 159 wins, and I mean, it was 59-6. I think it was 59-6.
Look at the next 3 opponents. You got at Georgia, at Mississippi State, Texas A&M at home, and Alabama at home. I mean,
it's a murder. Yeah, a murder schedule. Speaking of murder, it's a murder schedule. You had before yesterday, I think you still had 3 undefeated SEC teams. 2 of them lost because they ended up playing within the conference. So it makes it really tough. So I think when you talk about the excitement of Kentucky basketball this year, you have to kind of judge it based on 2 standards and parameters. The first is all this excitement of hey, Kentucky basketball is back and players playing for the name on the front of the jersey. But the reality is that this is going to be a very, very tough season in terms of wins and losses. I'm not going to be shocked. And you tell me if you guys agree or vehemently disagree. I'll take it with a grain of salt. But I wouldn't be shocked if Kentucky loses half of their games.
I agree on that. I do. I think
Vegas.
I think they made. I think they're
losing 10 or 11 games, and they don't have big buildings in the desert for nothing. But I hope they're wrong in this case.
I mean, even when the SEC has stunk, you know how difficult it is to go on the road. Tuesday night, Starkville, Mississippi. Those fans crazy. As Military said, every.
You got muted again, John.
No, I'm not touching.
It was still hard getting in there and winning those games. So if you take this year, if they go on the road and they split and maybe slip up a couple of times at home, that's 7 losses. I might go ahead and sign on the dotted line for that right now and just not play the season if you could guarantee me that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because, listen, you got so many ranked. About almost every team in the conference eventually at one time or other has been ranked in the top 25. And I was impressed last night when I watched Texas A&M just the final 6.5 minutes just destroy Texas. And I think Texas has got a nice team. Yeah. And, Kentucky don't play Texas till later in the year, but they play Texas A&M in a 2-week span. They play at Matt Rupp Arena on the 14th, then they play them on the 23rd, about 2 weeks later. So, I mean, you losing half the rest, it could happen. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. If they win more than they lost, then I think the Kentucky's team was a lot better than we might have estimated them a little more.
Yeah, and you're talking the schedule in Mississippi State. I've watched them a couple of times. That is a scary team. That is a very, very scary team. Going down there in Starkville, that's going to be a tough road to hoe. So not overlooking anybody this year. I think this is one of these teams where we just have to kind of really stay in the present and just enjoy each step along the way. I'm going to take Mark Pope's idea of gratitude and really try to apply it to this team. I'm a warrior at heart. I'm going to try not to fret. I need you guys to hold me accountable to that. I want to enjoy this season.
I have said the same thing. I said, look, what we have seen over UK the last several years, I've said this to several of my closest friends. I am terrified that this ball club, let's say out of 31 games, let's say they go, I don't know, 25-6, they go 23-8, whatever. And then you get that draw in the NCAA tournament. You go, oh boy. All right. Because do you know how tough it's going to be for UK fans? If they get through the first weekend, it's been a successful season. That's the way it's been. At least that's how I feel over the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. And, before, if we were having this conversation before the season even started, right after Pope was hired on board, I mean, we'd be tickled to death with where they are right now and their potential. But the fact they've had this much success, it's inevitable that we ratchet up our expectations. Now the fretting is starting to come. We're already thinking about seeding and where we're going to, my only, the best thing, Brian, about your situation is that at least you get to see them up close and personal down there on the court. You're enjoying these Pope mannerisms. It's coaching. We're way up there, up in their rafters. I need binoculars. I need an optometrist appointment. I realized I couldn't see anything up there, but at least I was able to experience the thrill of being in the rafters in Rupp Arena again.
I will say this about yesterday's game with Florida. I have been in Lexington now 14 years. It'll be 15 years this coming May. I can remember a handful of times when yesterday's crowd and yesterday's game felt like late 80s, early to mid 90s with Pitino.
Yeah.
You have the UK Tennessee game the morning of or the afternoon of Joe B. Hall's death. Mm-hmm. When Tennessee came in and you knew if there is a romanticism in athletics with Kentucky wasn't going to just win. They were going to obliterate Tennessee on that day. Mm-hmm. And Kentucky scored 100 points, 100 plus points for the first time ever against Tennessee in that facility in the regular season. And it was so loud that day. And I promise you, I swear to you, Joe Beesman Hall's ghost was hovering over that floor that day. The Louisville game a few years ago when Keon Brooks missed the tip at the buzzer and then UK won in overtime. They dominated the overtime. North Carolina when Anthony Davis hits the block shot. There are moments when Rupp exploded in the Cal era. Yesterday, 106-100. It was a professional game played by amateur players yesterday. It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was great.
Top quality. And when you throw in the level of play together with the intensity of the crowd, that's what college basketball should be all about. That's why we're talking about this. That's why we're excited about this. Rupp Arena, there are just certain times during the course of the year that it takes a life of its own and just kind of wills the team to victory. I didn't think there was any way that Kentucky was going to end up losing that because the crowd just wasn't going to let it happen. It just wasn't going to happen.
Good point.
One thing before I let you go, John, I know you don't care. I know you do watch the women occasionally. They got another big win today.
Yeah, fantastic. In fact, I'm probably a little bit more excited about their prospects because you can literally see that team getting better every single game. It's just the fact that you've got this super transcendent point guard in Georgia Amore that is really just learning how to play with the rest of her players now. And so you're finally going to begin to see what Kenny Brooks was just ranting and raving about. He's been slobbering all about her this entire time, and we're going to find out exactly why. She throws a wonderful pass. It's very, very catchable. Now she's learning her teammates' mannerisms. I think it's only going to get better from here on in, although they do need to get a little bit of more depth. A little bit worried about that.
Yeah, those injuries, preseason injuries, may come back later on to hurt them.
Yeah, they are.
Maybe. Hope not.
Okay, so Brian, anything else you want to ask John for letting go? I'm going to talk about his book in a second. We'll let him go.
I will say this. He said, I wish I could be a little bit closer to the court. He's up in the nosebleed section. That's where they put the smart people, okay? I say this in all honesty. I say this to all of the writers. They are, if the writers are, if we're a baseball team, the writers are the pitchers. The videographers, we are the catchers because we wear the tools of ignorance. We have the camera, we have the microphone. That's how we tell our story. John, those who write for the quote unquote, I'm old school, so I'm going to say it, newspapers or for online, they're the pitchers. Why? Because they use their brain. Yeah. We need the camera to tell our story. They don't.
Yeah.
All right. I'll kind of warm up. I'm warming up right now. I'm fired up. That's my pep talk. I'm ready to go.
Let's go to the ortho in the bullpen. The ortho's ready in the bullpen.
Yeah, just make sure you send me a pair of binoculars so I can actually see the action down there.
All right. The name of your book, name, image,
murder. right here. Name,
right
image,
there it is.
murder.
Right there it is.
Myron, have you read this yet? You need to read it, man. Name, image, and murder. Part basketball, college basketball action thriller, part murder mystery. You'll recognize some of the people in it. You may actually be in it.
I'd be the murder part. Sorry.
John, You're awesome. You're great. You know what? I always tell people when I can get you and Jeff Drummond on here, I'm going to get a great insight of UK athletics because you guys are going to really point me in the direction I need to know. That's why that I depend on you two so much. And I'm so glad to have met you this year. And maybe I can get you on one more time before the season ends.
Get Drummond and I on together. That'll be Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. We can kind of go at each other.
I can listen to that. I can do that. I will put that together. Okay.
Jeff Drummond wins. Just saying.
Yeah, that may be your last show.
John, you're a great man. Thank you so much for what you do. And we will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you. Once again, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, you, John.
Later. Bye.
See you later. Now the show goes to the other side.
I'm out of here.
He's already took his camera off, Jeff. He's out of here. Joining us now is Mr. Jeff Davis from South Florida. Coach, are you snowed in?
No. Snow? What's that?
That little fluffy white stuff sometimes gets out occasionally. Yeah, it gets out every once in a while, you know. How much have you had over your way? I know over here we've had about 4 to 5 inches possibly.
Anything that we could get, we've gotten ice, rain, freezing rain, snow. It's all around us.
Yeah, we do want to be honest. Be very careful if you are traveling because it's been very rough today for some people. I know I saw some pictures of some on the interstate. It was a little rough earlier, and they had a couple of fender benders and stuff like that. So just be careful if you have to go out. If you don't have to be out, don't be out. But Coach,
unless I'm on your show.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, you're at home though, so you're. I mean, unless you're.
Is there a travel budget for this show? I didn't know.
I'm in my office watching film, just so you know.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were at home. I thought you were.
That's a lie.
Because we're actually, if things work out, you're going to be coming to Perry County Tuesday night if things work out. because you're going to play the Commodores in a big game. So I know why you've been watching the film.
Get enough heat over there so we can get the road so we can go.
Well, I can tell you right now that last time I looked up there, they did have a snow thing go up and down the highway a few minutes earlier today. But as soon as he went up there, here come more snow. So it won't be until the morning we'll be able to get a better idea of how much snow.
With all the hot air that's about ready to happen on this show, it may warm it up.
I'm about to warm it up, Jeff. I'm about to.
I'm just glad Brian finally admitted he didn't have brains.
See, I have said that for decades. You people just don't listen.
Oh, that's the first time I heard it, and I took a note in the date.
Good. Now you can take a picture of it, write it down. But hey, it's no joke. Seriously, and I am, in all honesty, Les Dixon, Dennis House, the people along I-75 that for decades have written about Doug Eads out in Somerset, people that have written about the games, John Henson in Harlan County, who is a 13th region aficionado. Those are the smart people. I got you bamboozled 26 years ago. I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors here. And but they're the smart guys because they have to write everything down. And if you all could see my office, more notebooks. I learned decades ago, write it down, take notes, and have backups to your backups to your backups in case you lose your notes. They're the smart guys. The people with the TV cameras like Armando, who's going to be on here a little bit later. It's all smoke and mirrors, kids. It's a magic trick.
It's just about how you get in.
Well, Jeff, you're in.
Yeah. We're saying if Brian didn't have a camera, he probably couldn't get in a lot of buildings.
No, it's amazing what these camera people can do and how they can find a way in somewhere.
Hey.
So that's why the top security's at South Laurel. So if we see Brian coming with a camera, we're going to triple check all the
kind of security you have. Some of them camera people can find a way in.
This is too soon. We need Armando to come into the show. Jeff knows what I'm talking about.
Well, Jeff's seen it all. I mean, he's lived it all. He knows what's going on. He's no fool. He's a man of intelligence.
Easy.
He's putting
There's
it together.
A lot of people around this county and in our region will disagree with you on that statement.
As long as you win, you're genius. I mean, you beat Trinity. You beat Trinity in Louisville. Come on.
You've been in this business long enough. Even when you win, you're still a fool because you didn't do the right thing still.
Oh, I
understand that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. The first thing I want to ask you, Coach, is how fun was it to play in the King of the Bluegrass? I know that's one of the most prestigious tournaments in the state. And I know you probably played in it once before, but to take your kids up there and play it in such great competition, that had to be a really great thing, really neat, awesome thing.
That was my first experience with it. It was such a great experience for our kids. The competition in that tournament is unbelievable. Coach Gardner and his staff do a wonderful job of putting it together. Just think of it this way. You had two teams that were in the finals of the Lexington Catholic tournament who were in the loser bracket of the King of the Bluegrass. So, wow. I mean, that just goes to show you. And the teams that we played were Trinity, North Oldham, and Bryan Station. Yeah. I mean, that's three really, really good teams and great experience for our kids. And they handled that weekend really, really well. And we learned a lot.
Then you got to go to Florida, and that had to be fun because that was more of a bonding trip, more of the kids getting to play. You played some good competition down there too.
We did, and it didn't go as well as we wanted it to, but we don't make excuses. We could have played a lot better, but we played three really good teams, and we were glad to be home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we was talking with Nate earlier about how you playing a tougher schedule makes your team better by the end of the year, and I've always done for you to always play a tough schedule. And
a lot of people say we play cupcakes. It's what they said.
I don't see very few. I don't see any cupcakes on there. I see Great Crossing towards the end there. Madison Central, they're good. Wolford County.
I'm just telling you what everybody says. So I'll let other people determine our schedule.
I've seen the one thing though that I really like about you, Jeff, is you have these preseason showcase games, and then you have 2 big events during the year for coaches, and I really appreciate that for what you do, because these are some of the you get some of the best competition to come play in these events, and it's fun to watch.
It's a lot of work, and it's good for our kids, and it's good for our community and our town to have people that come in. London's growing. Just look at the 192, all the construction that's going on, and all the restaurants that are starting to come in, and so it's a great way that we get to play home games and get people to come in and see what our community is about and show off our city and town. So it's a good events, but it helps honor people from the past and for their contributions that set the groundwork and the foundation for us to follow.
Well, you have the Raymond Reed first off. You say Hazel Green to a certain era of people, and Lily and that era of basketball. That's first off, I love the Raymond Reed just to, as CJ said, kind of honor the past a little bit.
Yeah, and when I first got this job, he was one of the first people that reached out to me, and just to sit and listen and get an idea, because I was new to the area, understand the history, the 4 schools that came together to form Laurel County, and he was the first coach at Laurel County, and in this building that we play in today, it's just so much history and so much tradition that I'm a big history buff. I love the old gyms and the old schools, and when I first got hired here, I said I would do everything I could to keep honoring those schools and the people that played, coach, as long as I was here. And the other night we had a chance to honor Raymond. We played in the Laurel County throwback uniforms that we had, which was pretty cool, and the kids loved it. And you walk in this gym, Brian will tell you, and CJ, you've been in. You walk in and you see that end zone. It's pretty special, and
best one in high school basketball.
The only thing you get on, only people who get pictures in this gym is state champions, and it's pretty special.
Yeah, no question about it. And when you put these events on, you have really great competition, and people really enjoy themselves, because you're one of the very few places that have ice cream in the concession stand. I'm watching basketball, but I will pay attention to the concession stand every once in a while. And ice cream is a good thing of mine, so I just let you know that right off the bat.
You're the Jake Billis of southeastern Kentucky, then.
Quote of the night. Jay Howard, the Jay Billis of southeastern Kentucky. That is solid.
Brian's going to have that on it. Brian will have that written down now.
Have you had the tremendous pork chop sandwich yet?
No, but I was going to try one. They run out when I was there for the one event I was there for. They ran out. They said they couldn't get any more. Well, I said, do you serve these at regular games or down the, they said, well, we try to serve it as much as possible. So the next time I'm in there, I will try one.
Well, if they can just get to cook more, then we'll have more of them.
I know it smelled good. I can smell it plumb when that's coming through the door. So it smelled good. Yeah. Coach, we talked with Nate earlier about this region, how tough it is. There's not just 1 or 2, 3 teams that are really good. This is a very tough region. We talked about how later when you get when it doesn't matter what you do in your district tournament this year, runner up or district champ, you're going to play somebody just as better as you in that first round game.
Well,
talk a little bit about that.
it matters what you do in your district tournament, because if you don't win the
Well,
first
it
game,
does.
so
Yeah.
but this region, and it has been way, ever since I've been here, even with Reed, how good he was, and they won. I mean, they earned it. The Knox Central teams, the Corbin teams that they played, I think in the road through it. So it's not an easy region year in and year out. I think this year it's more competitive from the standpoint, if you don't show up, really anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And there's just so much. It's like, just like anything, it comes down to matchups, who matches up better with who and doesn't. And but there's 8, 9, 10 teams that could get hot and beat anybody.
I want to ask you about your, let me interrupt real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you about your offense. Preseason, you said to me, the defense is going to be good. We have to improve our offense. How is the offense improved? And not just Jordan Mabe. How's the offense everywhere else? Because everybody knows who the go-to guy is.
Well, I think Christmas we were doing better. And then we had the stretch of 6 games with no practices, and our guys had to learn to. That was such a good experience for us, because the lack of practice, we did a lot of the film and scout on the fly and kind of things. So it's coming. It's not where we need it to be. I think Saturday night we showed the potential how well we could be. Got out and ran a little bit more than we had been. So, some poking and prodding the guys to get to do what we want them to do. And we've had Josh Steele really step up. At the first couple games, he was in foul trouble and was, struggling a little bit. And he's really come on. And, Colton's in a new role, running the point guard, and he has done a fabulous job of that transition. And he's starting to figure out, as a point guard, you're probably not going to score as much as you would like, but also you've got to figure out when you can score. You got to take it, and he's doing a fabulous job at it.
We talked about the upcoming schedule. If weather permits, you're going to get pretty set to win this week. You're also going to get to play North on Thursday. Saturday, you play Huntington, West Virginia down at Ashland. Then you end up playing Corbin a couple nights later. So you got a 4-game stretch coming up, important district games, and some good competition. Have you been able to does the weather affect some of what you need to do preparing for these next 4?
I would say yes, but then again, the 6-game stretch that we just came off with the lack of practice and games back-to-back and all that, I think that's kind of built some leeway and experience into our guys of how to handle those situations better. So hopefully we'll find out. Weather's always been a part, especially down here. You may have a game canceled 30 minutes before tip. You never know. So you just got to control what you can control and be prepared as much as you can and keep the guys focused.
Yeah. And you got a lot of games that'll keep your team focused, especially with how many seniors you got, Coach?
We've got 5 seniors this year. So we're leaning heavily on those guys. I've put a lot of pressure on them to lead, and we've really got a really good group of kids. They play hard. They try to do everything we ask them to the best of their ability. It's just that experience factor, especially in a grind. Now you're in January, weather, but also I always tell people in January, you go look at scores. It's kind of like Christmas. You'll see some crazy scores in Christmas, and you're like, what was that? And, kids are out of school. They're out of their routine. And these times the games are played are not the normal times. And now in January, the newness of the season's kind of wore off. You're still far away from the postseason. So you're in that you're trying to keep the grind and keep their focus and like, okay, guys. So you'll still see some crazy scores on a Tuesday night in January too. That's just part of it.
You just hit on the question I was going to ask. The malaise of the midseason, where it's a routine. Okay, we got to get up, go to school, go to practice, go to the game, blah, blah, blah. That happens at every level of sport. But with basketball and what it's a fine line where you have to find how tough do I have to be on them? How light do you go with them and say, look, you made a mistake. Let's do this. I think this is the time of the year where it's what are we, 6 weeks from the postseason starting?
Yeah.
You want to start gassing the engine here in about 2 weeks at the most, because you want to be hitting on the proverbial all cylinders in a month.
Yeah, and especially district play starts next week, after this week. So and that's the reason my voice sounds like it does, because as a coach, you're trying to pull them through this and keep their attention and understand. And, we've all played it. We've all been there. I've been there as a high school player. I understand the grind. And trying to explain to them, 30 years ago, it may be a little bit different, but, it's still the grind and trying to get ready for it.
That's you just said something that CJ is doing his questions, and I'm thinking about story ideas, because that's what I get weird about. Safi from Clay County. Sorry. Squirrel. I just talked about your voice. I would love to do an interview with coaches preseason, midseason, postseason, because there's a little bit of raspiness in the voice, because the later the season goes, the more you start to yell, and the more you start to yell means it's more important, I think. Well,
I've taken some advice from my family and tried to be as patient as I could be.
Would that be Dana?
Well, maybe. You got to watch the blood pressure and all those kind of things. But it comes to a point, and I talked to a couple seniors came talk to me, and they're like, Coach, we need this, and I'm like, okay, let's go then. And it's been good for them to understand where I'm coming from, and now see a different side. Sometimes you got to be patient and allow them to figure things out on their own. And like I said, we've got an experienced group of seniors, and they've been through this with me for a long time. And I listen to them, and they listen to me, and we have those conversations. And not every team is like that, where you have seniors that feel comfortable. Hey, Coach, we need this, or can we do this? And you've got to trust them some. I tell them, this is their team. This is my program. These are the standards we're going to follow, but I'll listen.
This is where Jeff and I are on the same page. Sons of coaches understand certain things, because I've also seen teams that have 4 seniors, 5 seniors. In this case, South has 4, I think. 5, okay. Where they try to cram it in the last 2 weeks of the season. You kind of coast. Then you realize how important the season is, because, hey, one more loss, we're done.
Yeah.
And the lessons that you have tried to teach for the last 5.5 months, the last 3.5 years, all of a sudden the pressure of packing it into 2 weeks of a district and a region, and sometimes they don't fire. And that's why coaches have to prepare these kids and to have him mature. Jordan May, for me, when I got to interview him, highly mature and understand some things that your normal 18-year-old kid doesn't get, and can relate to, he is as mature as an 18-year-old can be from when I have been around him.
Well, I'll say this, and I mean this in the kindest way. He's not your normal high school player. I mean, his intelligence and his goals and vision of things are beyond. And he's been with me for a long time, and he's earned that. And, Josh Steele is the same way. You look at the corner, he has turned and really his production, and it's just not on the court. He's really grown off the court in the locker room and practices and that kind of thing. When you have guys like that other players can lean on, it's such a refreshing thing to where coaches can coach. You don't have to coach the effort and the attitude. They handle that stuff for you.
I understand that a lot. Yeah. Because
working with Brian, you gotta handle all that, CJ. It's hard. I understand.
Why do you think he lost his voice? He's not yelling at his kids. He's voice texting me.
He's still proud about it, okay?
God, will you shut up already?
Brian, let's just give you an idea of how tough the 50th district is. Look at these 4 records of these 4 teams. And, and I'm giving Whitley County and Williamsburg some credit. To be 11-2 for 2 teams that don't get a lot of prep, that's a good record. And then Corbin's 9-5, and you guys are 8-4. Listen, Coach, when you get the district play, it's going to be 4 nights of war every night.
Well, and that's why I put this cupcake schedule together to get ready for the district, because our district is so hard. I mean, there's no icing or sprinkles on it. I mean, you got to go.
Well, there's a couple sprinkles.
And even, I mean, you take a look at the last couple of years, we've not won at Whitley, and I think in 3 years. Wow. I mean, Whitley's a tough place to play.
It is.
And it's a grind. It's a battle. You got 4 really good coaches. You got 4 really good teams that know each other. And district's a little bit different than the regular season. You know your district so well, and you've got to prepare for everything. Yeah. And I think that's why you've seen the 50th district over the years has been so successful in the regional tournament.
Oh yeah. I agree 100%. And I was amazed by. I didn't know. I knew Whitley County had pretty decent. I didn't know Williamsburg had such a good record. But then I go back and look at their competition. They played some good. Both Whitley and Williamsburg have played good competition, so they've earned their 11-2 record. So and then I look at your guys' schedule and I see the weeks to come in district play. You've got Corbin and you play Whitley. You play Corbin Whitley back to back. I mean, and then you're sandwiched between Clay County and then you play Williamsburg. So I mean, it's tough all the way around the board. But like I said, it's going to help you down the road. Where's the district tournament at this year?
The district, I think, is at Williamsburg, if I'm not mistaken.
Williamsburg. That'll be big though, because that's another hard place to play, especially if you're in. It's not a very big building, So yeah, I mean,
Whitley County is my favorite gym in the 13th region to shoot for visual reasons. I wish that eventually, I know that some people like the big garage in Corbin. I don't. I wish it would go to a high school setting at Whitley County. But I like postseason games need to be at high schools, in my opinion only, because if you play on college floors or big arenas or even medium-sized arenas, then you get to Rupp. Yes, you're used to the size of the floor. I got a great idea. Everybody get a 94-foot floor. Crazy. Got me crazy. I don't know.
Here, you're wanting us to put 94-foot courts in all high school gyms, and we're struggling to find an extra clock keeper so we can have a shot clock.
All you got to do is call me. I can do it remotely. I've learned this. Hey, you said, Nate Valentine said earlier he was in favor of a shot clock. What about you?
All for it.
See, you young kids, I can't deal with you.
That means we don't have to guard for 30 seconds.
Okay, I have an idea. I have a solution to the problem.
Okay.
The coaches' boxes, if you remember, had that hash mark.
What boxes?
Yeah, the old coaches box. Well, see, some people, when you're at home, there's no coaches box. When you're on the road, there's a coaches box. That hash mark, that's what, 25 feet from baseline, something like that. I think the ball has got to go past that hash mark. They used to do this in college basketball 40 plus years ago. You couldn't just hang out from midcourt to hash mark. You couldn't hold on to the ball. The ball had to go past that hash mark.
So now
defense is flat.
So your solution now, who?
Yes, it was pre-shot clock when it happened. So they were trying to force, without a shot clock, they're trying to force the game to speed up a little bit.
So let me ask you something. I'm going to speak to some of my official friends that the Bart Lennoxes of the world that teach and all this stuff.
Well, you just set the bar pretty high right there.
I know. I'm just telling you. You're wanting no shot clock, but you want them to be able to determine when that ball got past that marker now.
There's a hash mark on the floor. You can see it.
Are you sure?
I love it.
Hey, are you questioning the referee's eyesight? Because I don't.
You're wanting to add something else for them to make sure they see.
Oh, I love this. This is awesome.
To cover. I mean, now
if you're wanting them to look up at a clock and do this and go, "Oh, the shot didn't get off in time."
Now they've thrown this at them, this flop stuff now.
Okay, that's okay. That's apples and oranges here.
No, that's just
I'm talking about
something
time.
else.
I'm talking about time. The thing we all want more of, and we usually squander the time we have.
So let's just put the clock up.
So let's don't and enjoy the moment.
So if I get it past the line, I can come back and just hold the ball?
No, you have to. You have a 5 count. See, if you – I try to tell these young kids, you got to know your history a little bit.
I know the history. I know the history.
5 count. You had a 5 count. 5 count between hash mark and timeline. You couldn't just hold it. You had to pass the ball. And then when the ball gets in 20 feet, hey, all kinds of defenses.
So you bring up the 5 count.
Yeah.
So what's the distance between the defender and the ball to get a 5 count?
The ball, what is it, an arm length?
What's the rule?
That's what it's supposed to. When they're counting, when the dribbler is dribbling, they're counting 5. It's arm's length. If you don't go forward, if you just go side to side, they can count a 5 count.
Is that the rule?
I'm asking you, Coach. We're dumb media people. We
when I see
play cupcake schedules all the time.
When I see a 5
I'm not asking what you see. I'm asking what does the rule book say. So the
rule book says you're supposed to go.
What I'm bringing up, it's
forward.
It's very judgmental.
Rule book here, okay.
It's very judgmental. What a 5-second distance is.
So
I agree. 100%. I agree 100%.
It's different. Like it's judgmental how long they stay in the lane, which you get 3 seconds. It's judgmental. Was he leaving? Was he what? So what I'm saying is, the clock takes the judgment out of it.
Okay, I'm for a shot clock. I'm like you, but what would you want it to be?
Me?
No. What would you coaches want it to be? If you could have one.
I'm all for 30. I'm all about making the game
as sloppy as possible.
No. I've said this for years. I don't understand.
I cross the half court line in 10 seconds.
I don't understand this. College plays 20-minute halves, but everybody else plays quarters.
Uh-huh.
We're supposed to be prepping our kids for the next level. True or not?
Okay. That's true.
So why aren't we putting this stuff in as young as we can and move things up and get everything on the same page? If they're going to play, let's play the game like it's played all over. We were out on our way down to Florida. We stopped in Georgia to practice, and we stopped at this high school, and they had a shot clock, and they play with a 35-second shot clock.
Yeah.
And then they reset at 20 for like a violation or whatever. Yeah. And does not add any more to the game, adds more excitement to the game. And that's the way that's going. So I'm in favor of 35, 40, whatever, but I think there needs to be some kind of shot clock.
I think it needs to be 35. I think, college basketball started with a shot clock in 1985-86. The year Louisville beat Duke in the championship. They played with a 45-second shot clock. And I realized the games progress over the years, over the decades. Think about how many, let's be honest, how many cupcake teams are out there? How many bad teams are out there? They can barely run an offense in 45 seconds, let alone 30, 35. They can barely get it across the mid-court stripe at 9.5 seconds. I realize that, this is capitalism at its greatest. This is capitalism and sports at its greatest.
So we're supposed to not do it because somebody can't get across half court?
Hey, I guess they shouldn't play the game of basketball.
Well, I do know this much. I have talked with Mr. Julian on his show about a shot clock, and he did say, he said, we're in conversation with our coaches and our schools, and if they feel like it would benefit the game and help the game, then we will eventually put it in there. And I told him, I said, Julian, that's a great idea. I said, that's good. I was thinking you guys should have a 30-second shot clock. Well, I think you should have.
Well, I think there is true concerns about putting it in.
Yeah.
I understand the financial. I understand trying to find the help. It is hard in some places to find people to keep the clock.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to find somebody to keep the scorebook. I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I'll go ahead and do it.
Text it to me and I'll say.
I'll say I don't care. I don't care. There's enough live. It's like the live streaming stuff and all this stuff. More and more fans it's like college basketball, the sports when they went to TV. It's harder for people to go to the games and it's easier for them to watch it on TV. Yeah. True or not? I mean, that's the truth.
Absolutely.
So,
I agree.
But what people don't understand in the high school realm of it, those universities and those conferences are getting billions of dollars for TV rights to make up for the lack of ticket revenue, what have you. In high school, if we live stream every game for free, that's less people that's paying at the gate to help pay for supplies, the officials, the people that run the clocks, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of things that people don't really take into account. When I hear a lot of people complaining, well, why won't they just live stream it for free? Well, okay. So this money that people are talking about to hire someone else to keep the shot clock it is a real concern.
Yeah, I agree. And I've also heard this. What's it about? What's the conversation going around? I know you got some things you're going to do, Coach, but I've been hearing another conversation that if all the schools don't agree to live stream on one certain place, that nobody's going to be allowed to live stream any, period. Have you heard that?
I've not heard that. Most schools have some kind of streaming platform. Either it's in-house or it's Huddle. We have Huddle, and you can watch all of our games live, and there's a fee just like it would if you paid to get into the game. So it's like if a ticket is $5 to get in the game, that's what it costs that night to view it. I don't see it going that way.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I need to.
Houdini, that's on your face, Brian.
I bring Armando in because he was done there waiting, and I figured he probably had to add to this conversation.
Yeah, I would like to step back away.
No, no, come back. Come back.
The goings on.
Is this like the old Western?
This is like Brian, are you the mediator? Are you the mediator, Brian?
Yes, I'm setting my watch to high noon at the moment. Let's go.
Deep breaths. Stay calm.
Does he know what he's about ready to get into, Brian?
The showdown is not in the hands; it's in the mind, kid. Let's go.
I just saw Coach Davis the other on Friday night too. That's the funny part.
That's right.
I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this. Please, gentlemen, go ahead. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this.
But no, what I was pointing at, Jeff, was I'd heard that the NFHA people said that a lot of people wasn't using their streaming because a lot of people do and some don't. And they said if everybody don't start using it, then nobody would be able to use it.
Well, I think what that's come down to is, if you remember through COVID, when they limited the number of people in the gyms, NFHS came out with their camera and came out to provide all the schools that wanted to a free camera, but you also had to use their platform and services where
communism.
So a lot of people after COVID saw more people subscribing to that and not showing up to the game. You could pay $80 on NFHS and watch every game in the country, and the schools were getting nothing, and it was hurting people at the gate. And that's what I was talking about. You live stream the stuff, and it's nice to be able to sit at home and watch those games, but then it comes to a financial point where do the schools come up with the money to help fund their programs and pay the officials and pay the people that work the games?
And CJ, this is what I told you off camera before we started. Things changed over the last 20 years.
Oh, I agree.
Teams need to be paid to go mileage to go to a tournament somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
You show up and pay your own way. You got to get something out of it. The kids have to get fed. Something has to be given to these teams. And the same thing with streaming. I would love to sit at the house and have one of those real cool TVs that have 64 boxes and watch all these games.
Not like the jukebox behind you that's glowing back there.
Hey, don't rock the jukebox. I want to hear some Jones. My heart ain't ready for the Rolling.
It don't look like you're bad off, buddy.
No, don't get Brian to start singing. We don't need that. Brian just start singing and we're going to get requests for songs, okay?
Well, we already have requests. But, you talk about the streaming. What is better? This is something that I hated, and this gets my blood going from 25 years ago. We tried to do live football games at YMT, at Belfry, and I will say that at Belfry, at Middlesboro, at Breathitt County, and places in between. Well, it's going to hurt the gate. You show me the last time a live game, a region final, a state semifinal has hurt a gate, and I will personally pay you $5,000 to make up for the loss.
And I've heard that even during, my little bit of time here, because, I'm in a stage now where, I'll reach out to ADs. I'll talk to people. I even have something in the works right now with someone that we may or may not know, but and I've been denied games because of viewership, especially during the playoffs sometimes. In kind of some of the places that Brian mentioned and in other places in general, especially when it's been teams that, especially in the football scene where teams in the same district, but they're like hours apart. So they're like, well, if we're going to play a team over there, we're not going to have it be an ARH game of the week so that we can have their fans come as well to not mess up the gate. So I've heard that. I've experienced that firsthand as well.
That's exactly right. And my angle was more football, not basketball.
Right. In basketball, it's a little different because those districts are closer and it's a little bit more local anyway.
Exactly. But you show me a region final, and I don't pick the sport of the major money-making sports. Show me a region final that's not, if it's at a high school facility, that's not packed.
Yeah,
well, $5,000.
I've noticed the football too, especially YMT, where they say you got a game between Belfry and Johnson Central. Well, Belfry won't let you come do it. Then you guys have to get the next best game.
Yeah.
Well, that school won't let you come to that game either. So then you have to go. And I'm not putting this team down, but say you went, if you couldn't get to those two schools, well, then you had to go do Betsy Lane and Prestonsburg. Nothing against the team; they were good teams, but you had to go get your third and fourth, and.
Right. Yeah, you do have to have a top 5. You're right. So you have to have a top 5 in case of, because at the end of the day, the mark needs to be met. We want to show some local sports, but some people they have, we have our priorities. Other people have their own as well.
Yeah, well, I will say WYMT has done a great job of at least giving back when they do their broadcast. Like they are taking into consideration we're coming to do your game. And I've seen them hand out checks at almost every game. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just the understanding of what is at stake. And for athletic directors and principals and superintendents, it is a very big concern with the finances of supporting these programs. And it's just not football and basketball. It's cross countries. It's the tracks that don't get it, that we help with what our gates and our stuff goes to.
Let me use an example here, Jeff, of what you're talking about. I had the Moorhead football coach on here. We talked about how they go play games with teams that are probably 600 times better than they are. Why do they go play those games? Financially, to be able to cover other teams in that school. And that's why in college you get a chance to go. You make money. You play tough games to make money to make your school better.
When I was at Moorhead for 7-8 years, we were told you're going to play X amount of guaranteed games, and those are games where you go play the Power Fives, and they pay you to come up there and play. And it happens in football. Of course, football, they pay you a whole lot more than they did us in basketball. But I could remember one year we played Notre Dame, Xavier, and then went and played Florida in a 3-game stretch. Wow. And it was all about getting the check. Now, it was a great experience. And then anything outside those 3, if we wanted more finances, we had to go get another guarantee. Some years we played 4 or 5 guaranteed games.
Uh-huh.
Sheesh. I had a coach tell me on that note, and I know we're dealing with high school, but obviously college at this moment. I had a coach tell me, his athletic director said, I don't care if you go 0-28 in the regular season, just don't go in the red financially. And your job, I don't care how many games you win at home. I don't care. You are a fundraiser first, a coach second, a developer of talent third, everything. Just take care of the money. Now, I will say this. I don't know what the gates are at the Corbin Arena. Jeff would know that. Those schools that play there traditionally know that. I don't. I just know that for me, it feels like a large garage with a court somewhere way out in the distance. When Whitley County hosted the region one year, and I thought it was the greatest in 2003, I think. It was the best atmosphere because you were right on top of things. Clay County hosts it, and I realized why a lot of people don't like Clay County hosting a regional. It was right there on top of you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the best part about basketball, though.
Do what?
I feel like that's some of the best basketball games is when you're like the fans. That's what makes basketball special than football. Because football, I mean, yeah, it's great. You're in a stadium. But with basketball, y'all are right here on them as fans, yelling, shouting.
That's why the 14th region tournament is so special now. Because they got 4 places, Powell, Knott, Perry, and Breathitt. And those
You're right there in all of them. Yep.
Armando knows. How tough is it being when you go to the regional tournament for the boys? They're packed houses. You can't hardly move around. That's what it's all about.
They're all really fun. One of my favorite ones that I remember Nate told me to go to when I first started working for YMT was it was last season. He told me to go to the Paintsville Johnson Central game because when it's at Paintsville, their gym is so tiny that when I stand on the sideline to shoot, the student section is so close they can touch the back of my head. That's how close they are to the court, yelling, screaming, and it was so fun. So I think that's some of the best parts about basketball is the liveliness with it and the interactiveness that the fans have. I mean, you'll see players get into it with fans because y'all are this close talking to each other. So I love that as a person.
A lot of people wanted to know why the All-A got moved out of Corbin for two reasons. They didn't make enough money, and number two, wasn't a good atmosphere for the All-A. That's why they moved it to Owensboro for where the 2A tournament's at, and they keep it all together.
Hey, show me how much media is going to show up for that.
I know. Very little. Very little is going to show up. I know.
So they moved it from Corbin to Owensboro?
They did.
Zero. They're going to bring it back to Richmond. EKU had to go through all of these
remodeling stuff.
The remodeling of McBrayer Arena, which is, granted, it hadn't changed a lot since 1961, 62. I get it. But it needed to happen, and it's going to come back to Richmond. But if you also remember, Franklin County had a shot at it. The Civic Center hosted the All-A a couple of years, and I know Armando didn't see it, but it was a bowl. The court is at the bottom of the bowl.
Yeah,
seats went around it, and it was wonderful.
Yep, I love the Civic Center, Frankfurt. It was awesome.
When EKU has its new digs, it's going to be on a completely different course. The high school regionals, I believe, if you go back and look, 2nd region, 5th region, 8th region, 10, 12, 14, and 15.
No,
15 are the only ones not at a college facility. 15th is at the Expo.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess you could take that out. So only a handful of teams, regions, play at a high school gym for the regional, which used to be everybody played with the exception of the 16th, which is at Rowan County, Morehead State. Region 1 was at Murray. Region 4 was at Western. Pretty much everybody else in the decades prior played at a high school court. Maybe the 11th played at Memorial Coliseum.
It's hard to get those temperatures.
It made it more exciting.
It's so hard to get those gym temperatures to like 100 degrees like I like here at South.
Hey, you give me 100 degrees. You give me the Boston Garden with Johnny Most.
I don't know if my wife's still on here watching, but she loves it when she just thinks, hey, it's too cold in here, so I always try to keep it high when she's at the games.
You're talking about someone being cold.
Data's cool. She even commented on the show.
The only reason it's you're cold, Armando, is nobody was in the gym when you were in there.
I gotta go. I'll be right back.
Lord, he just got up and went.
You should come when there's fans there. It's really hot.
He might not. Well, wait. There's some big games coming up. Armando may be there for those big games when you play Corbin.
I got a lot of South Laurel on my schedule.
Armando, let me tell you.
This is why Jeff Davis.
We'll keep it warm for you and make sure you have ice cream to kind of cool you off.
This is why Jeff Davis and I get along. We are on the same mind level, the same mind. Oh my God!
Oh gosh, that was funny.
Now, Armando, do you know what I'm against when these two are together? It's exciting. It's exciting stuff.
You set me up.
Would you like to explain the backstory? I think we'd all like to hear it.
Okay. CJ1, I'm gonna get you. CJ, I'm getting you back on this because you set me up for a trap. I did not expect this on my day snowed in at YMT. So let's throw it back to what was it? August of 2023.
Let me get my phone and I can tell you the text.
Oh yeah, God. I'm in extreme rookie mode. I know nothing.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I don't know if I want to go into this story.
For legal reasons. I got an idea. We can sell tickets and stream it live for those who can't attend in person.
There you go. I think Brian on that phone call, if I remember, didn't say a word. That's the first time he never said a word in our conversation. All good now.
You mean speechless Brian? I've never heard that before. No. Speechless Brian, no. No.
I'm not even muted.
Oh, Lord.
No.
Well,
Appreciate you guys.
Jeff, you're great. You're so great. You're just the ball fun. Again, if you want to check him out, if the weather cooperates, they'll be at Prairie Central this coming Tuesday night. Thursday night they got North Laurel, and then Saturday they'll be at Ashland when they play Huntington, West Virginia. Coach, good luck to you and your team. We love you. God bless you, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey, appreciate you guys again. CJ, you do an awesome job. The
Thank you.
Appreciate these two guys covering sports in this area. I always say it. People in this area don't take it for granted because there's other places in the state and around the country that don't get the coverage, and these kids are getting, and they'll remember it for the rest of their lives, just seeing a highlight or being interviewed or something like that. So I appreciate it. It's one of the best areas for sports, and you all do a fabulous job. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Jeff. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you, Coach.
Hey, Armando, keep it straight.
Be good, Coach. Listen, Jeff Davis.
You set me up, CJ.
No, I did not set you up. I brought you in on this because I thought you were sitting there. I thought you have some good insight too to this because, the process of everything these days is much different. We was talking about earlier how Brian made a great compliment about you. That you would have fit in tremendously. Yeah, Brian gave you the best compliment you could ever get, and he meant it every bit. You would have been the perfect fit for people that was at YMT when, like in the early 2000s, because you would have fit in perfect because you have that type of knowledge and stuff. And Brian said you would have fit in perfect. So yeah, I'd agree with him 100% because Armando, you're a good reporter. I just feel bad for you right now because you guys are going through so much hard time right now. You just don't know what you're going to be from day to day, from week to week.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the compliment, Brian. That's to be able to fit in the golden days of all the great people that y'all have had here. That means a lot. But I would say, I think YMT is still in a really good place, because at the end of the day, the sports is what makes is what runs the show. It's not about necessarily us or me or whoever or whatever vessel is here. I think it's about the sports and it's about the people and what they're doing. And as long as we're trying our best to tell those stories, no matter if it's one or two or three or whatever, I think, this place will always be successful and entertaining and a great place for sports. I will always remember it as the first place I got to truly tell stories from sports, and there's some people that here that I would always come back for, and wish them the best. But I think there's a lot to look forward to this season. I just came from South Laurel. It's funny. I went to their tournament, so it was great to see Coach Davis again under different circumstances, and and I'm excited for the rest of this basketball season. There's a lot to look forward to, a lot of competitiveness in different ways. Some because the teams are all great, some because you don't know who's great. So it's a lot to look forward to this year, and it's a lot of stories I'm looking forward to finding the time to tell.
I know you guys have not had time to put a new mountaintop team, and I will guess you'll do one maybe this coming week.
Oh yeah, we have. I just been gone, but I've been gone.
Hey, the guy had to go home for the first time in 2 years. He needs a little
I did. No, it was cool to go home for the first time and like my first holiday spent home. But I'm back for a little while longer, and then I'll be gone again. I'll come back, but I'll be here for the most important part: February, March Madness, who gets crowned the champions, district, regional. I'm excited for all the good stuff to come. I've been reading up about a lot of Kentucky basketball history too. I read Jack Gibbons' book, Why They Call Me Goose. He got me excited for a lot of the history with basketball here. And then also the one about Billy Hicks, a book that Keith O'Brien wrote, I believe is his name. That got me excited about the history of the district and regional tournaments and state tournaments. So I'm excited for what's to come.
I miss Billy Hicks. He was a great fixture, the great man, he was what basketball was about, and I miss him so much. I was going to give you my top 10. This is
Let's hear it.
My new top 10. Yeah. On the girls, I got Perry Central at number 10. I got Letcher at 9, Pulaski County 8, Whitley County 7, Knox County 6, South Laurel 5, Corbin 4, Knox Central 3, Johnson Central 2, and North Laurel number 1. 11-0. That's impressive, Armando. To go through Christmas tournaments and not lose a game so far. North is for real. We already knew it.
Who was your number 9?
Letcher. They're 11-4.
You're talking girls now.
That's girls. Yeah, that's girls. They come on strong. I know they took a meeting or two here and there, but the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've been playing a lot better back. Listen, Armando, it was hard to find 10 girls teams with a winning record. I'm being honest.
Facts.
The records were like 7-5, 6-5. There's 5 schools with over 10 wins. That's North, Johnson Central, Knox Central. Corbin's only got 9 wins. Perry and Letcher both have 10 apiece. Knox County's only played 8 games, or they would have more than 5 wins. So but now the boys, it was much harder because there was all kinds of 10-win schools everywhere. But my boys, I've got Breathitt at number 10. I got Jenkins at 9. Listen, they're 11-1. I think they're going to be a contender in the All-A.
Let's not fall in love with the record. Okay. I'm not the biggest record steroid user. I want to see the quality of the teams. I want to see who they're playing against. I want to see who they're losing to. There's some of these teams that you said are 7-5, but who are they losing to though? The 7-5 is coming from these Louisville, these Lexington teams, these state contender teams, and then when they come down to the mountains, they're beating people up. So that's my question I would have.
Let's not put our boy Winston. Let's don't put our boy Winston down to the bottom. Now Winston is a good man.
I'm not saying for them specifically, but I'm saying
he's got a veteran
team.
He's got a veteran team of about 6 seniors, and this is the team Jenkins has been waiting for on the boys' side.
Just remember, when Winston Lee has a ball club, I want you both. You have my permission to say, we have a Winston Lee sighting. You will get a smile out of that young man.
Yep.
Jenkins has had it rough. When in 2002, they had a legit 7-foot senior.
I remember him.
Tyler Iserman. They had one of the best power forwards in 14th region lore. Micah Oden. 6'10", strong kid. God, I love Micah. You have the Tackett boys at the guards. You had Joby Potter. The shortest guy was 6'3" here now, guys. They were a 20-win team, and they were a legit team. If Winston Lee can pull off a little Cavalier magic, I just want you to say we have a Winston Lee sighting.
I will do so. I promise.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Please, CJ, continue.
My bad.
I understand your point. A 7-5 team that's played 6 Lexington schools or Louisville schools is a much better competition level than probably some of these records. But I need to see a little more.
You need to see the wins though as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Could you give me your boys list again from 10 to 1 again? Let me list.
Oh, we only got the 2 because I gave you Breathitt and Jenkins.
Okay.
No, I've got Breathitt at 10, Jenkins at 9. I got Whitley County at 8. I like Whitley County a lot. I think that game in 2 weeks with Corbin or South and Corbin back to back is going to tell us a lot about Whitley County. I got North at 6. I love North. I think they're really, really good. I got Martin County. Clay County 5, Martin County 4, South Laurel 3, Harlan County 2, and Hazard 1.
I think that top 6 is legit because I was at the Clay County North Laurel game. Fantastic. Man, what I love, Brian, I know you understand this one. When I only have a few minutes to be at a game and they give it to me in those 5, 10, 15 minutes, I was in the I had the student section pointing at the scoreboard. I'm going to send you the highlights, Brian. I had the student section pointing at the scoreboard at halftime, Clay County ahead by 11, and then as soon as the game goes, boom, Cole Jervis, mop, nylon, like 3 shots in a row, stealing scores, and then Clay County gets me a couple shots, and then Cole Jervis had like a 9-0 run by himself, something along those lines. But Clay County came back to win in overtime. But they gave me all the highlights I needed in like 15 minutes, and I drove back to Hazard. That was great. But Clay won. Those are 2 very good teams, tough teams in the 13th. I think I like that at 5 and 6. Martin County. And then you brought up South at 3, Harlan County at 2. They're expecting to get Reggie Cottrell back soon. That's what Coach Jones told me after their win at the Raymond Reed Classic on Friday. They're going to be exciting to watch with him back in the lineup. But even with the players they got guys stepping up. They had a kid named, his last name was Blevins, that stepped up big time for them, hit some shots to win the ball game. Yes, I didn't want to say his first name wrong, but I know his last name was Blevins. Brennan. And then but yeah, I think, and then Hazard's still number 1. No one's been able to show them up yet. So I think that top 6 is legit.
Yeah, and I think the bottom 4, Bell County, I had Bell County in there too. They were in my top 10. And I think Bell's schedule is a lot better this year than it was last year. They're legit. They're more legitimate this year than they were last year. And I think Brad knows that he's excited about it. He knows he feels more comfortable about this team than he did last year. Because he's played a lot better competition. So it's win anywhere. Got a couple more questions. I'll let you go. I know you got some things you want to do. Good win for the Cats yesterday. Good win for the women.
She's well rested.
Good win for the Cats and a good win today for the women.
Yes. That was an awesome win for Kentucky by Florida. I wasn't at WYMT at the time. I was at my house watching the game. And, Florida's coming out. And then the guy, Chinyelu, being physical. I was like, when he sent, what was his name? Amari Williams shot back. I thought he was going to punch on him. But he sent it back. I said, ooh, that's nasty. And then
the game.
And then Owe was kind of like the spark plug that got that 16-0 run going. And I'm like, man, they're not missing. And once Kobe Brett got the ball, a defender was in his face, and he just did this. Not even just set shot and shot it over him, nothing but net. I was like, yeah, the Cats are going to win this game. Because how do you stop someone where they just do this over you?
That's amazing.
That was a fun game.
And then the women had a nice win today on the road at Vanderbilt. That's a tough place to play. And they went down there and 91-78 or 96-78. That's solid.
And despite that really dominant win that they showed against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt was heavily favored in the game against UK, which to me, I was surprised how favored they were. ESPN favored them by like 80+% in their little matchup predictor. So I was like, that's okay. Okay, so I was interested in that, but I mean, you can only take that for what you will. But
the big upset of the day, though, in women's basketball was Tennessee going down. They lost.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Oklahoma got them.
Oklahoma.
Okay.
You gotta say it like Keith Jackson.
Oklahoma. I think that happened also at Thompson Bowling Arena there in Tennessee. I believe that where Oklahoma beat them today.
I have a question for you, CJ.
Oh, I hope I got an answer.
So, from the games, the couple of games I got in a run around to my little YMT vehicle, it seems like the 13th region, as of right now, is looking real competitive. What would be your hierarchy? This might get you in trouble a little bit. What would be your hierarchy mid-season before February hierarchy? This is going to get some feathers ruffled. Keep in mind, Jeff Davis just left the call, so don't get on his bad side like I did.
Put him on the phone.
Not really. I think it's South and Harlan 1-2. I think they're. I think
right.
Now the third team is a bounce between the third team. There's a bounce between 3 teams. I think Corbin, Clay County, and North are all about the same type teams.
The same tier, if you will.
Yeah. And then after that, who really? I mean, let me go back over here. I've got everybody's record in the mountains. You look at the 13. You got Jackson County 5-8, OBI 8-6. OBI is not bad, but they're not. They're going to. North of Clay's will come out of the 49. This is how I'll tell you. If we don't have any upsets, I think North of Clay comes out of the 49th. I think Corbin de South should come out of the 50th. I love Pineville. I think Pineville's really, really good. I really like Pineville a lot, but I like Knox Central. And I think both them teams. I want to see their game here in a couple of weeks. I think
I've seen two Knox Central games, and one thing that stands out to me from their ball games I've seen is they're just at their best when we're not going to play cute with you. We're going to play physical. We're going to go out. We're going to run straight to the rim, and either we're going to lay the ball up or you're going to foul us. That's what made them have like instant success from the couple games that I've seen from them.
And then I think Bell and then Harlan County's the other two teams. So you've got 8 teams right there that are really great. That's what I told Jeff and I told Nate both. I said, you want to be your district tournament doesn't mean as much. Actually, I should have said it this way. It doesn't matter if you be a runner-up or a district. You make the region. You're going to play a great team in the opening round of the region no matter what. So, I mean –
Yeah, and 13, yeah.
It doesn't. It really wouldn't surprise me if we think of the top 5, but somebody on the bottom part could sneak in there. You know, you want to see the draw first. You want to see the draw.
My next question: what is the 14th?
I'm gonna be honest.
Besides Hazard,
100-something miles away. Go ahead, Armando.
Listen, when they're on. Perry's hard to beat.
I was gonna say, if you can't say Hazard, the team that intrigues you the most, because the thing about Perry is they're weird because they've lost some games where you're like, what?
They're weird.
But then also they were like one shot away from beating Hazard,
and they were one shot away from beating the number 6 team in the state of Tennessee.
Wow. Okay.
That's Tennessee. That's a football state. Come on.
I know, but listen, I'll be real honest about Perry. As far as the best shooting team in the region, Perry's the best when they're on. If they're on, there's nobody can listen.
They
shoot the ball really well. They really do. They really listen.
Is Trayden Woods the best shooter, or is Perry Central the best shooting team? They have some good shooters, but Trayden Woods just lights out and makes their team look.
Listen, I think they're a really good. Listen, they're a really good shooting team.
They are.
All 5 starters on the floor can shoot the 3, take the ball to the hole. Question is, how many are they going to be motivated enough that day to play? Most of the time, they're motivated and ready to play. Look here, they're an undersized team. They remind me a lot of a small college Division III school. They have no size, but they go out there and they play good defense. They're getting good contributors. Listen, I've been with them all during Christmas. I've been with every game. This is a team that if you sleep on them, they're going to get you in the end. Because and I'll tell you, a team that's getting better. Listen, I know they just come back from Florida. They won a tournament. Breathitt's still Breathitt. And don't count Knott out either, because Knott hosted the region this year, and a tournament at Knott hosted, that's dangerous.
One thing that I think that's interesting with Hazard is, like you said, that they were. I think Perry is a great shooting team, but I think Hazard is a team. When I watched them against Ashland Blazer, another game, like I said, Brian, where like I'm there for 5-10 minutes, I see everything I need to know in 5-10 minutes. Yeah. From the start of the game, it was Dalton Combs. He hit like 4 threes back to back to back to back. Seth Cottle can knock down shots. Evan Everson can knock down shots. The only player, I think they had one guy who wasn't a just volume 3-point shooter. And I think that was their big Higgins, who's kind of like the tough guy, grabbed the rebounds. But like, I was like, I don't see a weakness with this team. Yeah. They're just insane.
I think, Hazard, they when they went down to Gatlinburg, they had a good week. They really did. They got a lot done. They got beat in the finals too, much like Perry did. So, I ain't got a Hazard schedule for me. I know Perry, we're supposed to play South Laurel Tuesday night, weather permitting. And that's a big game for us because that's going to be a good measuring stick for us to see where we're at. Because we say South's one of the betters in the 13th. Yeah. So you got two of the betters playing each other in a big game. So I mean, listen, I've learned more in the past 2 weeks when I had an opportunity to sit and watch these teams and see their records and see who they're playing. I'm getting a pretty good perimeter of where we're going to be come February, March.
You look at Hazard real quick. They have one loss, right?
Yeah, they lost to Tennessee
by 2 points.
Yeah.
You are not going to find – this is the kind of team I think if I go back, and I've known now Holland-ish since 1998-ish, this is the kind of team he wants. Yet we all like to have a team that scores 80, 90 points. That doesn't happen in high school too often. No. He's got a physical team.
Mm-hmm.
On the court, I don't know what these kids are like off the court. Armando would have a better sense of that if he was around them more. On the court, they're mature. They don't take wild shots. They are very stoic. You don't see them show a lot of emotion. It is a machine. John Calipari used to say, they're not machines and I don't have a magic wand. Al Holland's teams, when they are the best, they are stoic, they are physical, they pound you, and they are fundamental. You look at this ball club, and I've only got to see them in person during the Mountain Classic. Why did they beat Harlan County in the championship? They got the ball inside first. They started inside out, where Harlan County at that time started outside in. You're not going to win championships starting out from 25 feet. And Huff is a great kid.
Yeah, he's lights out, but that's
I don't need to see Rex Chapman threes from 30 feet out. Sorry, you're playing right into the hands of Al Holland. Al Holland is so poised. He's won more games than anybody in 14th region history, beating Pearl Combs a couple of weeks ago. He's won more region championships than anybody in 14th region history. He has won everything better than everybody. And why? He has a system. You want to have a team that is a machine, a program that is a machine. When he was at Perry Central and he had them and an MC Napier, when they were rocking it out from the mid-90s to the early 2000s, they had people 10 points down before the national anthem. They were in their heads because you weren't going to beat a Timmy Neese, a Ben Bowling, a DJ Sims. You weren't going to beat these guys physically, mentally, or in a basketball sense.
Yeah.
If you control the mind, you control the body.
Yeah.
And he controls the region. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, they have that character that you described, Brian. I've gotten a lot of good insight with their team. I've covered a lot of their ball games, obviously because they're here, and I've done a sit down with Evan Eversole. They're so good because they can beat you in so many different ways, and they bring so many players who can do different things. You know, Dalton Combs, Seth Cottle, guys who can hit jump shots. Evan Eversole, a tough guy who can do a little bit of everything. Higgins, he's going to, be the tough guy, grab the boards. Whenever he was out, then they bring in Tucker Johnson from off the bench. Hey, I'm just here to hit face-up jumpers, play defense, grab the loose balls. And they give him, when I was talking to Evan, he's giving his teammates all the credit. He's doing, and then you have Ridge Beverly off the bench, like that 6-man role. And when he comes off with that maturity, he's a playmaker. He can handle it, but he can also shoot it. They're just... They would have to self-destruct for anybody to lose.
I know Armando won't know this name, but others will. And Armando, I'll send you some video. These kids that Hazard has, Al Holland had a guy, Derek Bowling, 20 years ago. Undersized, undermanned, and had the desire of a pit bull. He got things done. That kid is so – and now he's just awesome. He's awesome 20 years later. He's awesome 20 years ago because he was undersized, undermanned, underweight, under-athleted, under everything. And who got the ball? Derek did.
Yeah.
Who got the rebound? Derek did. Who got the garbage? Derek did. Hazard, in many ways, is a 20-year 2.0 of this young man, Derek Bowling. And Derek, and I hope you see this because you were one of the grits and guts of Perry Central a long time ago. If everybody played with the desire of a guy like Derek Bowling, you might be undefeated. You might just go undefeated all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And Hazard has exactly what Al Holland wants. On the court, off the court, and in the cranium, which is where it matters a lot.
Yep. I can't wait. We got a lot of good basketball come up. We got the All-A coming up. We got some other stuff coming up, big games coming up. So if you want to see the highlights, WYMT will have those highlights for you. And you can check out Armando. Armando, thank you so much, sir. We will catch you next week, same time, same station. And oh
my God, he's going.
Yeah, but Armando, thank you so much, sir. And we'll talk to you next Sunday.
Absolutely. See you around.
Have a good one. Thank you. Let me get a few house notes in, and Brian, I'm gonna let you give your final thoughts. I want to thank listen, it's been an awesome show. And I want to thank everybody that stayed with us because it's been unbelievable. This is the type of shows I love to have because we get good content and we're able to really do a lot of I owe that to Brian and my guests tonight. John, Jeff, Nate, everybody, super, super job. Thank you. And the comments, good comments from all you guys out there. I don't know if Brian saw that one. I showed it. I think he might have saw it. But you guys, thank you so much. I want to remind everybody I'll be back with you next Sunday night for episode number 17 of the C.J. Howard Show. Tanner Hesterberg is going to be my co-host. Also, we're going to have Shannon Hoskins with us from Perry Central. I'm going to have state champion head football coach Chad Pennington with me. We're going to have Chad on the show. We're going to talk with him about how it felt to win the state championship, and we're going to talk with him about his son's recruiting. I know he's being recruited by some good teams, so we'll get and Josh Cook is also going to be with us next week from George Rogers Club. It's always great to have Josh on the team on the show, and of course Mondo will be with us too. So also, I want to remind everybody, go to my Facebook page. And once you get the CJ Howard Show page, I want you to like it. I want you to share it with other family and friends. I've also got a YouTube channel. I want you to go over there and check that out. I want you to like it, subscribe to my channel. One of my favorite YouTube channels is when Brian puts out old content of old stuff.
Old, you're making me sound old, kid.
I meant classic. Classic stuff.
Vintage.
Vintage and classic stuff. But I always look for anything from Brian. So follow both of us. We're on YouTube. Also follow me on TikTok. I got a lot of good stuff over there. I do a Wednesday 7 to 8 thing on TikTok where I talk sports. Come join me on Wednesday night from 7 to 8 and have a good time. And then I think that's all my information. Brian, give me your final thoughts.
Well, I just want to say to several of the people who have hit the comment button tonight, D&D Sports, which I believe is kind of simulcast this show.
Yeah,
I think the tournaments, talk about high school basketball regional tournaments, should be at the high schools. Completely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. And then we also have Brandon Scott who said, should the 15th be back, hosted at a high school, or stay at the expo? When you talk about money, and Brandon, this is what's going to come to you real quick. Money, you can get more at a facility that hosts more as long as more shows up.
Yep.
If you have a 5,000 seat arena and only 1,000 show up, well, that's not really a great thing all the time. I just think for me, it ought to be at a high school gym. He also mentioned, why did the girls' state tournament be at the Kentucky girls' gym, meaning Memorial Coliseum? Well, first off, the parking is not good enough. That's the biggest thing, that you don't want people, if there's bad weather, you don't want them walking literally 3 city blocks to get to Memorial Coliseum. But Memorial Coliseum was just renovated. It is beautiful inside. Yep. I would love to see the girls' Sweet 16 go to Memorial Gym. Also, John Mead texted to the comments about an hour ago. Loved when you covered the mountains in the early 2000s. John Meade was smooth. This guy was a southpaw for South Floyd. I think I even called him that on TV a couple of times, the southpaw from South Floyd. I think he's now the girls' coach at Shelby Valley, I think.
He just got the job.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah.
And that guy was so good. He smooth and solid. Left-handers just make it look better. And Sean Thacker, he commented several hours ago, thanks, Coach. And I always enjoy being on this show. I really do, CJ. And it is a great way for me to reconnect or connect to some Mountain fans. And just thanks for having me, buddy.
Well, I'll have you anytime. Anytime that you're available, and I say, Brian, can you come? If he's available, Brian's going to be right here with me. So I appreciate that very, very much. Hopefully we might get you. I'd like to get you on the same show with Dave. I know you do a lot of things with him, but I think yes.
You wouldn't get a word in edgewise.
But I know, but that's what I want. That's what I want to see. Yeah. That'd be so tremendous. I need to set a show up between you and Dave. I need to set up a show between Jeff and John. So that would be tremendous. But Brian, don't leave me after we get off. I got a couple things to say after we're not live. Again, I want to remind everybody I'll be back with you next Sunday night. Episode number 17 of the CJ Howard Show. This is CJ Howard running third and heading for home. As Casey Kasem would say, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for those stars. I love you all. God bless you, and good night.